All right. And Alma, if you'd like to start, you're welcome to do so.
Hello, everyone. Happy International Women's Month. And a day is coming up this week, and we're celebrating it today. My name is Alma Weiser. I'm the director of Heaven Gallery and the president and founder of Equity Arts. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. This is our 5th annual Chicago Woman Changemaker Symposium that Heaven Gallery and Equity Arts have done in partnership for the last 5 years, if you can believe that. And so this event has always held a very special place in my heart. So being able to hear the inspiring work of women all around the city really gets me fired up about the future. I'm a true believer in women as the vessel of life and of a life giver. We carry so much, and we hold a nurturing spirit that flows through us. It is in this infinite abundance that gives us the power to move mountains. And I will tell you, we are moving mountains. So today we give space to that divine feminine energy. This event is also intended to connect us. So really thinking about how can we help one another on our journeys of transformation, right? So please, at this time, put your email in the chat if you want people to email you and ask you questions and help you on your journey. This is all about connecting us so that we could advance the cause of women. And for all of you who don't know, that alongside running Heaven Gallery, I started this nonprofit to purchase and liberate 1542-1550 from market speculation permanently. So just to describe this project that I'm working on right now, so it's a community development project that we seek to reverse the narrative of exploitation of the arts to one of abundance, with the belief that the same market forces that displace us can be flipped to thrive. By staying put, we are disrupting the inequities to the arts and to BIPOC culture. And today we see a real opportunity to leverage this economic power of the arts towards placekeeping. As a leader in the arts, we will no longer be the economic drivers that fix communities only to create wealth for a selected few. But through self-determination, we will shift our market position and own our own destiny. It is through this portal that Equity Arts and its partners will guide what equity in the arts looks like. And to give you a little update on my real estate enterprise, I am overjoyed to say that the sisterhood is throwing down, okay? We are elevating one another. I have witnessed the secret railroad of women coming to my aid to clear my path, from Tempest Hazel to Francine Almeida to Alexis Stein to Tish Noel to Ann Liu to Stephanie Green to Claudette Soto to Dosha Buffington, and of course my grandmother. No gratitudes are given without grandma, because her hand is always guiding my life. I am so grateful for this intricate web of women working with me to dedicate this building to the legacy of Chicago culture. So with that being said, let's get started with our wonderful speakers that we have today. Please welcome me in joining Wisdom Beatty. Wisdom Beatty is a Chicago-based interdisciplinary artist, mother, arts collaborator, and space carver. Ooh, I like that, space carver. With over a decade of experience in community organizing, her practice reimagines physical and visual space, Black autonomy and historical accuracy in support of Black motherhood through the lens of intersectionality. Wisdom is the founder and creative director of Wild Yams, Black Mothers Arts Residency, currently operating in the Creative Room. I hope I pronounced that right. A distinctive, unified collaboration created by Black women for Black women, with missions committed to equity and access through the arts on the South Side of Chicago.
Thank you so much, Alma. I just wanted to make a slight correction in the bio. A lot of the work that I'm doing is about actually forming partnerships. So I just want to be really intentional that Wild Yams, the initiative, is working in deep collaboration with the Creative Room, TCR. So I'll go into that in a little bit, but I just want to start with sharing my slideshow to tell you a little bit about who I am and what I do. So thank you so much. I want to say thank you, everyone. A lot of people actually on this call have also been supporters of my work, and I received that. So I appreciate the support. The support is necessary. So I am a lot of things. I'm a mother and an artist and a Black woman and a collaborator and an activist. I am also a person who's interested in dialogue and conversations about equity, and I'm also interested in centering motherhood, Black motherhood in particular, from African diasporic lenses. And for me, just to start breaking biases is really centered upon claiming the value and the relationshipness that you have with one's culture. So I'm very much about creating dialogue and opportunities and collaborations that center Blackness, that center our innate value, that center joy, as well in healing. And I do that through the partnerships that I navigate or that come into alignment with me. So I am an artist, like I said before, and one of the things that I am extremely inspired by is other Black women artists. And this is just a wall that I got to do a artist residency at Marwin during one of their off seasons. And so this was like a wall that I just was formulating ideas. And this really became like the precursor to a series of workshops that I was thinking about. My artistic practice thinks about how artists solve complicated problems. And I think that the artist is really unique in that they understand constructs and they understand how to deconstruct things, right? So it's just kind of like a sweet space of empowerment. So that's where I kind of start with a lot of things. Does this design system actually support or benefit me, or is it extracting from me, right? So I love this quote by Betty Starr. What can a woman do at home with 2 kids? My art is my weapon, right? So she's just like really this like baddie, and we love it. We love to see it. So I use my motherhood as muse often. And I absolutely, you know, my daughter's really cool. She's like super creative and super artistic. And so I kind of start from, you know, what can I do as my art, as weapon, right? So my weaponry thinks about this resistance building as well, and like really kind of having these conversations with her to let her know, like, you know, you're gonna do great things, right? Like that this doesn't, that breaking biases is about this like conversation of like intergenerational curse breaking also, and like alignment and really affirming yourself as like the hero of your story, and being really truly sitting in that power. So She's cool. If you've met her, you're welcome. The precursor to Wild Yams was a series of workshops, and I think one of the gifts that the Most High has allowed me to have is this gift of like building relationships and like thinking about how this work is not supposed to be done by itself. Like you need a village. It takes a village. And actually, that's how me and Sylvia actually got know each other through the School of Village Leadership Academy, right? So it's like so many connections. So the precursor to Wild Yams was a series of workshops that came from my experience at Marwin as an artist in residence. I did like a manifesto, and then extended practice read the manifesto and kind of presented me with the option of doing a workshop with them. I was like, cool. So I began to think about workshops called Ways We Make. And it really just centered the idea of bringing together women of color to have these conversations about motherhood and how we do things in a certain way, i.e. ways we make. And so I had several different partnerships. One was with Experimental Station. One was with Three Walls, one was at Marwin. So there were like a series of workshops that eventually led to kind of like me thinking deeper about what, you know, the need of a residency that focused on mothers, really. And then I got a propeller grant from Three Walls that initiated my first iteration for Wild Yams. Wild Yams has seen a few iterations. The first one was with one woman. I was able to think through this process with a sister named Manara Kalyango. The second iteration was with a group of 8 women. So I went from one woman thinking, okay, we need like a community actually. And so the community was like really big. And so then we downsized. And in that downsizing, I began to form a partnership with the Creative Room. And so as you can see, I'm the lady with the crown right there. And then Clemenstein Love is the lady who's standing right next to me. Clemenstein Love is a interior architect, Black woman, Southside Chicago. She has these sites where she has gutted. The Creative Room essentially is a site where she has intervened. She's taken the space and created an artist residency program for women artists. And so me and her got together, unbeknownst to me, working in alignment really, because I came to an event that Sadie was throwing here. And so she was an artist in residence, and I just like happened to, pop up, and I was like, oh, wow, this is like the closest thing that I could, imagine for what an artist in residence program could look like within the city. There's an within the city, within the South Side, right? So I enjoy thinking about this collaboration as hyper local and hyper focused. So our partnership is committed to this idea of communing, equity, access, and space. So Clemenstein's role, which is this like really lovely intergenerational vibe that we bring to the table. She provides the space outlet and also like creative development for me, because she thinks as an architect and I think as an artist, like in the clouds, right? Most of the time, like we can do all this stuff, and she's really able to bring me down to center. And so and that's one of the things that I was asking the universe for as well, someone who would be able to like help me hone in that critical thinking that I was, about to initiate. So the picture with to the right is Clementine and I actually pouring libations. We usually, when we have our exhibitions, this is an exhibition opening for LaShawn Fouché, excuse me, which we have her closing March 26th. You all are all invited. We pour libations for most of our events, just to give honor and reverence, right? Because we also are thinking really critically about like this, the flow of energy, and really calling on things that are necessary, and not just negating it because we can't see it. And I think that that's really crucial in order for Black folks, Indigenous folks to break biases, like knowing this, like calling on your ancestors to help you through certain things too, and honoring those who are not with us and who will be here in the future. So what Wild Yams does, what we do with the Creative Room as a collaboration is we provide a series of wonderful amenities. You get a term of 3 to 6 months, depending on what you're looking for as an artist. You receive 24-hour access to studio space, creative development that's led by both me and the director of the Creative Room. You also receive this idea of studio practice strategies, which is one of the things as an art student that I needed while in like graduate school. Undergraduate school, I went to grad school for actually arts administration, but during graduate school, if we had these kind of like platforms, right, when you get out of grad school or undergrad art school, you will be able to like practice more in a strategic way as an artist and not, do other things just to like stay afloat, right? So production and research, like this is what we think through with each individual artist. Entrepreneur, merchandise servicing, what does your teaching practice look like? Funding resource and artistic opportunities like grants, community outreach, and engagements, and what's your arts administration? And that's one of the things that's, for me, is like a really, that could be like a make or break for an artist. Like, do you know how to do your art outreach? Are you being like critical about, sending out those emails? Just really like being up on your artist practice, right? So that's like just a learning curve that is one of the offerings here. We also invite artists, professionals to do studio visits. So this was one of the pictures from our opening night for LaShawn Fouché. And on the right and on the left is actually her first day at TCR. She looks so happy because she is so happy to be in a space. She just knew that at some point she would end up, really carving and getting her artistic life together. I think about shifting narratives in different ways. So with this space that's being provided, we have done different types of events. There's an outside studio space where we've done a series of workshops. In the summertime, it's quite lovely. It almost reminds you of like being like in New Orleans somewhere and not on the south side of Chicago, right? Like just sitting in the grass and just really like communing until you are reminded that you are on the south side of Chicago. But then we have, different events where we come together and we dialogue together during some of the openings and like major events. We have provided childcare. And that is something that I'm thinking about in the long run as we grow this model. What does providing childcare as an artist residency actually look like? What is it that I could do that we can do as like newcomers to this, but also holding accountable other artist residencies? What are they doing, to actually carve that space, and being really specific about like equity, like what does equity actually look like for parents, especially Black and brown moms. So again, these are just some events, studio talks, holding ritual workshops. And this was a studio visit that we had recently with the lovely Dorian Sylvain. She allowed us to come into her studio and check it out, and kind of like in the middle, she has this like lovely picture of her and her son. And like she has like the most amazing like story of kind of like a blueprint of how to like practice as an artist and a mom in Chicago. And I've been like super inspired by her for so many years. And then she came to the creative room and did a studio visit with the artists in their studio. So it was kind of like this really beautiful reciprocity situation. And so what I think about and what I would tell other artists is to stay inspired and just begin. Faith Ringel, this text from Faith Ringel was my signature for so long until I changed it. But no other creative field is as close to those who are not white and male as in the visual arts. After I decided to be an artist, the first thing that I had to believe was that I, a Black woman, could penetrate this art scene, and that further I could do so without sacrificing one iota of my Blackness or my femaleness or my humanity. And I think that resonates so, much, and that she is able to, because she's still alive and well. And she's like 90 something years old, right? Give thanks. So for the fact that she's been doing this for decades, the fact that she was able to penetrate, right, to keep her livelihood intact, to keep her intellectual thoughts intact is it's something that I'm inspired by and that I look towards. So one of the things that I want, to really continue to do is stay inspired. It's important to stay involved, and it's important to find your group, find your people. Your people are everywhere. You just have to really like look, because I think that what we do as artists is we bring so much to the table, and sometimes we don't get to talk about it. Sometimes we don't get to really be in community, right? And I think that, that's what also artist residencies are intended to do, to be in community and to be in these conversations and to really practice. Just, start small, but start. Don't think that because it's not perfect, because your idea is not, polished, that it doesn't deserve, a go, right? Like that's trash, and that's going to keep you from like really doing the thing that you will need to do. And I look at practice as more of just like practice with the intention of knowing that you just need to grow, right? Like growth is the goal, not like perfection. And so with that being said, I'll close out with Wild Yams being distinctive. Wild Yams with the Creative Room being a distinctive collaboration created by Black women for Black women, with missions committed to equity and access through the arts on the South Side of Chicago. You can learn more about Wild Yams and TCR with studio residencies, open studio, exhibitions, and galleries by emailing TCR at info@thecreativeroom.com, Wild Yams and wisdombaby@gmail.com, or you can visit us on Facebook, Imagine, Create, and Vision, or Instagram, wild_yams. We are also starting a artist pool. So if you are interested in joining the Wild Yams Black Mothers Artist Pool and Caretakers Pool, please scan your barcode, and I can share this with Equity for the Arts and Heaven Gallery as well, because I would love for them to promote that. Scan your barcode, and there's a Google form that you can actually fill out. And that is all. Thank you.
Wow, that was incredible. Thank you so much for that wisdom. I love the way your name is Wisdom, and you are living that wisdom. You are living that name. So that is
It's only because of me acknowledging where I come from.
Yes. So what was really inspirational, what you're talking about? I'm hearing a lot about like professional development is really rooted in your residency. And I just love the way you're pairing that, the development of these artists professionally alongside this reversing the generational curse and like the spiritual side. So it's like you're doing both at the same time that I feel like are both so necessary to do this work. So thank you for sharing that. Our next speaker is going to be Francine Almeida. So I will tell you, this is my protege. I love her dearly. So she is the manager here at Heaven Gallery. She helps me in so many ways. I love her dearly. So she is a interdisciplinary artist, writer, independent curator with a focus on spatial design, community building, and art as a caretaking tool. She's currently the founder and director of Jude Gallery in Pilsen, a space that supports emerging BIPOC artists. Francine is deeply committed to sustaining the artist-run culture in Chicago and is currently launching an intimate venue space out of her Westtown apartment that is aimed at incubating experimental, collaborative, healing workshops, music, and artist resource sharing. So please, let's be thankful for our girl, Francine, who I love so dearly.
Oh my gosh, that was so kind. It's such a joy to be here. I can't believe it. This is like truly my home in so many ways, and I can't even describe how being in heaven with Alma, with everyone I've met here for the last 2 years has been completely integral into learning how to break my own barriers. So it is extremely full circle to be able to be speaking here and have this opportunity. I'm going to share my screen now. Oops, I think it's the other one. Let me give this a try. Are you able to see that? Awesome. Well, also, thank you again, Wisdom. That was such an amazing talk. It really resonated with me moving through generations. And I will say our daughter is so lucky to have you. You are truly an amazing mom to her and the community. So inspiring. I really, really appreciate hearing what you have to say. So like I said, and as Alma introduced, my name is Francine Almeida. I'm the manager here at Heaven. I also work really closely with Equity Arts. I have my own space called Jude Gallery in Pilsen, and I'm soon to be founder of this new venue space I'm launching out of my apartment in Westtown. This is such an amazing opportunity because I took it as an opportunity to reflect on where I've come from. And I think about if I had told my younger self that I would be a curator, I'd be working in the arts, I'd be a writer, and a space maker, I really never would have believed myself. So it is so incredible to really see this path because it has not been linear for me at all. I am a second generation Filipina, and growing up with that culture, I've had such a deep appreciation for my family and connection to them, both here and in the Philippines. I'm sure a lot of other Filipinx individuals feel this. There's such a deep commitment and desire to repay the sacrifices of my family who have come here and who have been before me. And for such a long time, the path that I thought that was laid out to do so was through medicine. And it took me a long time to realize that that is right for me in so many ways, but also I needed to make my own path. So I'll share with you an excerpt of what I really believe in where I'm at right now, which has been the culmination of such a long journey. So as it says here, in my practice, I utilize art as a spatial research tool to coalesce new techniques of community building, interactivity, and caretaking. I have always been motivated to understand methods of care, which led me to study medicine and philosophy during my undergraduate education. Not having a formal arts education, I've been forced to approach curation from alternative perspectives. The jump from STEM to art was motivated by a desire to connect with people, not only as individual bodies, but as a collective spiritual community. So it took me a long time to reach this realization within myself, and learning how to break biases that were both external and self-imposed has really brought me to a place of such community that really guides my practice right now. So I'm really interested in space making, which to me celebrates small art spaces and continues this legacy of DIY and alternative spaces in Chicago. To me, space making, I've realized, is this practice of transforming any space, regardless of size, layout, or location, into places that are important to gathering and important to the people that are there and feel really special. I came to this a lot because I did feel like I didn't have those spaces as I was pursuing art, and I had to really seek them out. And for a long time, felt like what I was doing wasn't legitimate because it wasn't conforming to the spaces that were receiving accolades or were featured as art spaces. And similar to what Wisdom was saying, it took me the open-mindedness to see spaces as places of growth and opportunity and to just do them in order to realize that any space can be important and any space can be a place of gathering. So this has led me to think a lot about collaboration, skill and resource sharing. So being able to find people that can teach you things that you need to know. I'm fully self-taught. So everything that I do now is like, I just figured it out. So without the generosity of the people around me, I would have never reached the place that I'm at. Accessibility, thinking a lot about making art legible to non-art people. I have so many people in my life that want to engage in what I do, and I find art to have so many barriers of entry. So for me, I really want to break that down and invite everyone into the joy that art can bring, because it is just such a spiritual and healing place to be. Community is another thing. Like I mentioned, finding these connections, but not only finding the connections, but actively participating together and making community an active word, and checking in with people and offering your help and really being able to actively engage is very important to me. And I, again, wouldn't be where I am without that sense of space and community. And then finally, sustainability in the sense of so many people do this alone and being able to find ways that are small and true to what you want to do that actually are still healing and not, going through all these actions of invisible labor that art can so often be, which is that you're doing and you're grinding alone, but being able to find small ways to enact what you want to do so that you can do it for the rest of your life is very important to me. So before I get too into what I want to do in my practice, I thought this is a great opportunity to be in space virtually together. Normally this is in person, but we can still be together in space by sharing a little bit about ourselves as a community. So I offer this question to you if you want to take a minute to reflect on it, and you can answer in the chat one of two things. One, it would be wonderful if you could look around your space and share something in your current physical environment, wherever you are, that really brings you joy or makes you feel comfortable or is joyous to you. Or you can answer this question. What is something that makes you feel cared for when you enter new space? I can start as you're thinking about it, and the answers can roll in. But I'm in the back room. This is like almost art room. I'm here all the time. It's kind of my second home. And there is a tapestry here that I've looked at for my 2 years. And to me, it looks like a dream. And I really appreciate the colors of it and how it makes me feel like there's so much opportunity because there's so many different shapes. I'll show you. It looks like that. So I think being able to really ground yourself and know what's around you, and then also envision what spaces like that moving forward can look like is so important. So reflect on those. If you feel compelled to share something, please do in the chat, and can all read them. Oh my God, my sister said a rice cooker. Thanks, Flo. Oh, this is so amazing. Oh, I love it. Oh, a bathtub. Yes, I love that too. Light vibe. The rain. Oh, these are so great. It would be wonderful to bring these elements into space as we move forward doing. And I really hope to build that. This is really the kind of answers and sharing that guides me in what I do moving forward. Oh, this is so sweet. Thank you everyone for sharing. I'm excited to see more as they come in. But going into the space that I have, Jude Gallery, I came into in 2020. It's in Pilsen in the Cermak Center. It's about 600 square feet, so it's not so large, but it is definitely powerful. Small but powerful. That's my motto. So this is our first solo exhibition that happened in May. It was by Yura Lee. She graduated from SAIC. And this was her first solo exhibition. So it was such a joy bringing her into the space and really having my first sense of producing for someone. She has fabulous oil paintings. It was gorgeous. This is the second show we did by Nicholas Cepeda, and it really exemplifies what I hope to provide for people, which is the opportunity to explore things that traditional art spaces wouldn't be able to provide them. So Nicholas came to us with the idea that he wanted to do 2 full installations within 4 weeks and fully transform the space twice. And we said, sure. And he just took it and ran. And I will say, you can't see the floor in the first photo, but it does not look like this. He laid down by hand these laminate wood stickers, and we were like, you go, you're amazing. So he did that and painted the walls red and hung his work in just such a wacky way that like he thought was super humorous. It was just amazing. And he was like, I got yelled at by a previous space for doing something like this. And to be able to explore that fully here is just so true to what I want to continue doing. This is 2 weeks later. He ripped out all the flooring, he painted the walls white, and then he left elements of the previous show in the space. So there's actually a sofa, and he printed a picture of the sofa and he hung it upside down on the ceiling. So just incubating people's ideas to the fullest is very important to me and this space. This is the 3rd solo show. It's by Grace Esther Gittleman, and it was a ceramics exhibition, and they did such an amazing job also transforming the space. They had these moon jars. They stole sand from the beach. Not that sand belongs to anyone, but just fully like went with buckets and then came and then put it into the space and created this truly outdoor indoor landscape. It was just such a dream to produce someone's idea to the fullest like that. And if you can see in this photo, there's a really tiny moon jar in the very back on that power outlet. And again, it's just like about doing what you want to do and not taking yourself too seriously. It was so incredible. And here's some gallery views of the back room too. This is still from Grace's show. They had these giant kimchi cabbages that they put in the space with dirt. And again, just inviting people to fully experience a space in a way that they never thought it could be. And I'm just so lucky to collaborate with these amazing artists. They really brought their ideas to me, and all I can do is support that, which is to me collaboration in the fullest. This was the most recent show. It's by myself, Jose Oquendo and Miko Garcini. We completely reimagined the space as a screening room, which was such a journey to figure out and ended up feeling super intimate, really great. Just so amazing to see the space new time and time again. And to go a little bit deeper into that, we've also moved into the hallway and taken over the building and really, again, pushed ourselves to explore space to the fullest sense, like what can feel comfortable, what can feel inviting, and light and sound have so much to do with that. During Grace's opening, we spilled into the hallway, we had music playing, people were dancing, and it just opens up a whole new realm of opportunity when you imagine even spaces that look kind of like trash as something beautiful, because this is just truly a hallway, and it became so beautiful, not only for the light, but also the way that people really found joy together. It was such a fun event, and I'm really grateful for that. We've also done multiple events like this. Something really important to me is making space for community through music and dance. I think it really takes art off the walls and makes art the experience that you have. And this really goes back into making art legible, because you cannot really have a background in visual art, but you're also experiencing so much of the spirituality and joy that it brings. If you enjoy music, if you enjoy moving, it's about being together. So these images are just so representative of that. This is a event called Jude Mood that I did with Alia Hack and Roland Santana. And we brought in 4 DJs, really just fully experimenting and dancing together. It was the first thing that I had done throughout COVID. It was a very small gathering, but it was, I'm sure everyone can feel, extremely needed. So the release, we were like, you're here, I can't believe it. Just even being together in space, again, felt incredibly important. It was so fun. And here's another example of that. It was another event called Move in collaboration with Antonio Robles Levine, featuring Leha Hazer, Jesse Sandwich, Zetas Lapidus, and DJ Ayiyo. And then the interior design was done by Katie Lee and Alex Calamos. You can see here again, totally different. It's crazy. I look at these pictures and I'm like, is this the same place? But we overtook the hallway again. We did the lights inside and really made the event focused again on people coming as they are and just letting loose and being together. So in that sense, it was, again, very freeing and healing. So coming up next is this venue that I'm launching, even further pushing this idea of intimacy and what we can do together. This is a picture of my apartment. I was so lucky to come into this very wacky space in West Town. It has a stage in it, which the previous tenant had built and left. And for months, I moved in July. For months, I've been like, what am I going to do with this? I slept on it for a little. I just slept on it. And at times it's been like a sofa, at times it's been like a dining table. So I finally feel ready and excited to move forward, welcoming people into it as an official venue. And I've spoken to people, and there seems to be such a need for, again, these small art spaces where even the tiniest idea can be seen as important and valuable. And I really want this to be that for people. So thinking about sound, body movement, healing workshops, artist salon dinners, really coming together in such a casual way, being able to resource share and have conversations, doing micro concerts where maybe there's only 2 or 3 people and you've been like kind of nervous to like put some new music out, but it's okay because we're all friends. And that's what it's about. And even supporting like emerging vendors. And I've thought a lot about clearing my closet out and putting other people's clothes in there to sell. Because you don't have to be a full business owner to be a business owner. Like, you define what you are, and just by doing it in small ways, you're making that path. I want people to be able to do that in the space. So I'm fully admit I'm still growing, and I'm really excited for the future. Here's a list of a few things that I mentioned a little bit about. I'm excited to work towards. I see this coming to fruition probably in like the next 6 months or so. I really am in the process of grinding. So honestly, if anyone has any interest in attending or collaborating on this, please, I have my contact information at the end. Let's connect and build something together. The first one being a night market. It would be like a bi-monthly series with like a rotating group of emerging vendors or people who just have things that they want to sell. I've seen so many Instagram sales recently of people selling their clothes and crowdsourcing together. And I think that providing space for that is so needed. Again, also pairing with local musicians. I'm thinking about artist lawn dinners, doing an informal casual environment for artists to have dinner together, share questions they've been working on, research together, and really just support each other's ideas in that casual setting. A community DJ Skillshare, so an opportunity for people to teach each other how to DJ and come together, try out new things, go back to back, just fully explore DJing, because there's not really a specific educational path for that. You can really only do it through other people. Art workers care packages. As I mentioned, this can be an extremely lonely field at times. There's definitely burnout. There's definitely labor involved that no one appreciates. So being able to collaborate with other businesses to really take care of each other in like a gift-giving way, just gift each other with things that we know we would want, and treating even strangers as friends and providing that care would be really awesome. And then movement healing, so collaborating with other musicians to create a meditative soundscape, healing together through music, and more, and more. Wait, there's more. So there's so many things coming up, and I just think that there's a wealth of opportunity. And I would like to finish this out by saying I cannot be part of this talk without really recognizing the women that have built my life. So in this picture is my mom. She's looking so good. She still looks like that. She's on this call right now. There's my sister, the baby. She looks like a potato in there, but she's 22 now. Both of my family members have provided so much care for me, and been such strong women and an inspiration in my life. And then there's Anna Malate, who is a family member who immigrated here from the Philippines, and every part of my life is influenced by her. Sadly, she passed away, but she's still with me now. I'm emotional talking about it. But truly thinking about generations and creating this legacy. And Alma, you're such a part of that. You are my future and you are my present. So I can't thank you enough for being here for me and giving me the tools I have to see myself as a leader. And I go back to the initial question I asked, which is, how do I repay the people around me for the work that they've done? And for so long, I was trying to do it in a way that didn't feel true to myself. And only in finding my truth as an arts leader, I really feel like I'm finally paying people back. And I think I'm finally doing that. So I just hope for everyone who feels similarly, and I do feel that in this group, I can't believe how amazing it is to be surrounded by such great peers. We're all doing it. So I really appreciate you, and I can't thank you enough for continuing to provide that inspiration today and always. Here's my information if you want to connect further. But thank you again so much. And I'm so excited to hear the other amazing women share more of their stories too.
Wow. Wow, that was incredible, Francine. Oh my gosh, that last picture too really got me. I was like, Oh my gosh. Wow. So, okay. So what I got from what you were speaking about is really thinking about how this path of thinking medicine, how you're thinking about it in a completely different way as art as medicine. And I think so many people don't see art as medicine, even though we fix all the problems, we make everything okay. And so you're right. And I'm glad that you found that path, because that you are staying true to yourself in so many ways, and then also carrying your parents with you. I'm also really interested in this whole making community an active word. That is absolutely true. So I thank you so much for that. And I love you. You don't have to worry, girl. I love you so much. So our next speaker is going to be Erica S. Hubbard. She is a nationally recognized advisor on fine arts and contemporary culture and race, who is known for opening the art world to new audiences and driving conversations about equity and inclusion in the arts and cultural spaces. She is the founder and CEO, okay, yes she is, of Cleo Dell, an art advisory firm. Let's welcome Erica.
Good morning. Okay, so let me tell you, I don't have the snazzy presentation. So let's consider this story time. And I hope that I can keep y'all attention. What is actually exciting is that this will be the first time that I'm sharing publicly what I've been up to since leaving the museum in January. So Francine, if you can hit this clip, I want to start with this. Can you hear him? Are you able to hear him?
Boroughs and others like that.
Okay.
We could see a different kind of
Maybe-
world in the world.
Maybe you could start him over.
Lived in the depression. I
Can you
say
hear
this for younger people all the time. We lived in a period called the Great Depression, but we were not depressed because of the optimism of creative people like Charles White, Margaret Burroughs, and others like that.
Okay.
We could see a different kind of world than the world we were living in.
Okay.
Lived in the depression. I say this for
Out there.
younger people. All
Okay, so I really wanted to begin there. That's the late scholar and historian, Timeo Black. And he was touring the Charles White exhibition at the Art Institute in 2018. And I've been moved by his words ever since. And I'll repeat them. He said, "We lived in a period called the Great Depression, but we were not depressed because of the optimism of creative people like Charles White, Margaret Burroughs, and others like that. We could see a different kind of world than the world we were living in." Can we just take a moment just to think about those words? So I spent nearly 8 years working at the Art Institute Chicago. So just give you a little background on me. I spent my first 3 years working in the marketing department, 3 years in the museum's learning and public engagement department, where I also created the institution's first community relations and partnerships area. I was committed to making the Art Institute of Chicago truly of Chicago. And I would put that in performance reviews, evaluations, any discussions of Chicago. And I would always capitalize that because that was really important to me. That was my commitment. My area was moved back to the marketing department in the summer of 2020 when all those layoffs, started happening. And that's actually where I finished up my time. In addition to managing the community relations and partnerships area, I also manage the museum's leadership advisory committee, which is an African-American advisory group composed of business and community leaders, philanthropists, artists. I see Michelle is on the call. She's one of our great members, one of their I have to keep remembering I don't work there anymore. So one of their amazing members of that group. I'm probably best known for my work around incredible exhibitions like Charles White, Gordon Parks, or even programs, the 2015 Legends and Legacy program that honored Elzier Couture, who's one of the co-founders of the Southside Community Arts Center. And then maybe even Black Girl Magic, which I have my Black Girl Magic shirt, if you can see it. I wore the shirt specifically for you guys. And that program actually highlighted 3 Black women artists whose works were recently acquired by the Art Institute. So it was Bisa Butler, Shabalala Self, and Chicago's own Amanda Williams. That program actually preceded the opening of the groundbreaking Bisa Butler Portraits exhibition that opened in 2020. If you aren't aware, Bisa it was historical, okay? And I got, shout out to Wisdom. So there's some things I really want to point out about that exhibition. I have some notes for it. Bisa became the first artist of color to exhibit where that show was installed. She was also the first living artist to be installed there. And she was the first Black woman to have a solo textile show. Now, I'm not saying this next part to toot my own horn. I'm saying this next part because I'm in the space with all these brilliant and amazing women. Bisa's show was installed where it was installed because I advocated for it. I had to advocate for that show to not be installed in a textiles department, but to be installed in a more visible location. And I say that today because we have to show up for one another. You know, we have to speak each other's names, especially at tables where the others aren't sitting. And so we have to be our sister's keeper. And so that's the reason why I do want to bring that up today. At the center of everything I do, you'll find Black folks. That's my focus. I don't make any qualms about it. That's what I do. You'll also find that I pull Chicago into the mix. I'm a Southside born. I have to say South suburban and Southside raised, because some people remember that I did grow up in Country Club Hills. I did attend Homewood Flossmoor for 2 years, but I did graduate from Hyde Park Academy. So I am a product of CPS, and I'm very, very proud of that. I do all I can to engage my city, my people, my culture. This is what I do. So in October of 2011, this is the groundbreaking news. Okay, Chicago Heights. The groundbreaking news is in October of 2021, I started an advisory company. It's called Cleo Dell. It's named after my maternal grandmother, who lived here in Bronxville. She was a chef living amongst other creatives in this community. She was a part of what is called the Chicago Renaissance. And so we talk a lot, you know, in our history about the Harlem Renaissance. And I think a lot of people forget that there was a Chicago Renaissance of, you know, artists, visual artists, literary artists, performing artists. And my grandmother was a part of that movement. And so Bronxville is also where I've chosen to live. And so my work with Cleo Dell, it goes back to Timuel's comment about living in the Great Depression, but not being depressed because of the work and creativity of these artists. I'm sure we all felt that in 2020 in the start of the pandemic. For me personally, it was the work and energy of the artists that kept me going. I recall taking folks to Bisa's exhibition and hearing, seriously, Erica, I needed this. I needed to be here today. You know, and watching the city and the state shut down, you know, cultural institutions, that was hard, you know, because I consider cultural institutions necessary, just as I think about grocery stores. as we think about, your medical offices, they're vital. And so my work in this space, so my company was birthed from that. So my work in this space is twofold. On one end, I advise artists. I help them understand the museum space, given my experience being in it. I help them understand galleries, and working with galleries, what's usual versus what's unusual, because I've seen it all. Over the past, I would say 6 months, I've been reviewing artist contracts with multiple galleries, and it's been, for real, it's been scary. It's been overwhelming to see what artists have signed and committed to for these galleries, and things that are just really not a great benefit to the artists. And so that's something that's kind of like my give back to the space, is helping artists move and do that. I don't charge artists for this. This is my give back to help prepare them. Another thing that's very important is I try to help artists define their goals. I'm helping them get more into how they protect their work, creating trust, linking them to, maybe wealth managers to help them build wealth. My father is a former bank president, so I have a bunch of wealth managers, in those resources in my network. And so I try to pull those into what I'm doing here. I'm also, like Francine mentioned, I'm also hosting salon dinners. Right now, they will be at Soho, but I really want to do some more in the community, some that are not connected to a membership. And so those are part of my plans for 2022 and forward. Now, on the collector's end, aside from sharing my knowledge, obviously, of art history, the canon, new artists, because that's all I do all day, is look at these new artists. What I'm really hoping to do with Black collectors is to create access. And so right now, Black artists in space, Black artists in vogue. Everybody wants a piece of it. Everyone wants a piece of these artists. And as Black art becomes more and more popular and more in vogue, these Black collectors are being pushed out. They don't have the access to these works. These artists are signing with galleries that are not selling work to Black collectors. And so given my experience, my relationships, my networks, I'm trying to kick in a door or 2 or 3, to help Black collectors gain access to some of this work. And so ultimately, that's Cleo Dell. And that's something that I've been working on since October, of 2021. And there's so much more to come. So yeah. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for that. I love the story about Visa and the first woman to show in that place, because like you said, we are kicking in those doors and we are going to get our way. One of the other things I loved about what you said is we are our sister's keeper. And I have been learning that every single day more and more. And this idea of a Chicago Renaissance resonates with me so deeply, because I love this city with the dearest place in my heart. The city is everything to me. So thank you for that, Erica. We appreciate you. And so our last speaker for the day is Sylvia Inez Gomez. She is a multidisciplinary artist, cultural worker, and educator in Chicago, actively participating in spaces where collective wellness takes on critical dialogue, art making, and community building. Her visual and audio work are a ballad of nostalgia, the borderline between myth and memory. Sylvia has curated and facilitated workshops to address structures of power, imagination, play, confinement, and freedom. As an organizer and administrator for the group POC, People of Color Artist Space, she connects artists of color from across Chicago to resources through meetup and development opportunities. Let's welcome Sylvia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Silvia Inez Gonzalez, and I, as Alma just introduced me, am an artist here in Chicago. I just want to start off with a lot of gratitude for you all being here today and for the invitation to be part of this very generous and generative conversation with you all. I also want to take some time to acknowledge that we are on Indigenous land, which we now know to be as Chicago. Moving through this presentation, I was thinking through, well, how do I want to start this, and in what ways do I want to center the conversation? And I think just because of the conversations I've been having with folks recently, thinking about really centering this idea of love. And one of the phrases that I wrote down was, to know Chicago is to love Chicago. I am a full-time CPS arts educator here in Chicago. So a lot of the time people always ask me, how do you do the stuff that you do if you're a teacher in CPS right now? And the answer is, I don't know. But I will say that the work that I do has been over the course of a longer period of time, and it's work that I really care about, and I'm not doing the work alone. A lot of the work that I've done has grown roots with people that I've met that carry similar values toward community. And there's always an exchange that happens. There's something about the, hey, I see you and you see me, and there's an in lakesh of you are my other me. And so I think that coming from that particular place has really given me an opportunity to grow my practice. I've had the privilege of learning about abolition work here in Chicago. There is a really strong prison industrial complex abolitionist community here in Chicago, and I've been asked to support educational work developing around issues of incarceration while also critically addressing power dynamics at play. I've been able to do this work as an artist. I've been trusted to do this work as an educator. And so oftentimes I've used my skill sets as a photographer, as an educator, as an artist, as someone who does program development to bring folks together interested in gaining a deeper knowledge on what freedom could look like, what a place where support is available and thriving means. And in the process of being involved with this type of work, I would say that I myself have learned a lot. The work has really led me to not just ask questions about communities, but to explore those questions with community, with others, with youth, with adults, intergenerationally, etc. And I just wanted to go into some of the questions that we've been asking over the course of my work in totality, which is a lot. So brace yourself for some questions. And then Francine, can we have the presentation looping every 5 seconds, please? Thank you. The questions are, how do we listen? What do we hear? What sounds make up our community? If Little Village was an iconic sound, what sound would it be? If the sound of your community were a color, what color would it be? How can your individual experience of where you are from inform a larger narrative about your community? Where do we rest? Where do we work? Where do we play? What other spaces hold us when we grieve, organize, and resist? What does our compass guide us through when we are tasked with acknowledging the histories of our labor and organizing efforts as a city? What is the material of love? What does it mean to not merely survive, but to thrive and flourish? I don't think that I go into the work that I do hoping to have these definitive answers, but I'm really grateful to the fact that it's led me to other people with more questions, other people that also want to have their own questions given a space for. In the past 2 years, I've been able to lead workshops, I've curated shows, and I facilitated conversations with the local artist community here in Chicago. As Alma presented earlier, I'm the administrator of a group called POCAS, which was started in 2016, and since then has grown to over 900 members online. and several folks that choose to participate in person meetings or virtual meetings. I've been able to connect the work of artists from across Chicago neighborhoods who may have otherwise not had the opportunity to meet one another. This has been done through work in progress critiques, salon discussions, and in collaboration with other spaces in Chicago, such as most recently, the Honeycomb Network here in Humboldt Park. And shout out to some of the folks that are on the call today. Actually, Wisdom presented some of the work that you saw today, Wild Yams, as a part of POCAS work in progress. And there are other folks on this call who I know have been a part of the space and have graciously offered up their time and energy to support it. I also want to talk a little bit about having a studio space at Chicago Art Department in Pilsen, because that has really grown my sense of community and possibility. During my time there, I've had the privilege of curating 2 shows that are very near and dear to my heart. The first show that I ever curated was in honor of the Chicago Teachers Union, called When We Fight, We Win. And I really wanted to take this very political work that was happening on the streets in service of showcasing that as art, showcasing political education as a transformative moment through the process of making art in community for the cause of the Chicago Teachers Union. The second show that I curated was called Love in the Time of, and it featured the work of the Chicago Act Collective, of which I am also a collective member. And through the work that I've done with the Chicago Act Collective, I've really learned firsthand the value of growing with friends, what it means to have trusted and safe relationships and a trusted and safe space. I've learned that my work, time, and energy are valued, and therefore creating a system of support and care has been a really big part of who we are as a collective. And I would really say that my ideas of justice have radically embraced the need for care and safety in building relationships with each other and the work we commit to and have a sense of responsibility for. And I think this is actually a moment that I really appreciated because it gave me an opportunity to reflect on the work that I've developed over the past 4 years, which I don't really have a lot of time to do as a teacher. But I've really thought about through this presentation as an educator, as an artist, as a person. I'm always looking for ways in which we can create joy, relationship, or rather kinship, the ways in which we can create the spaces that allow us to show up as our needed self on a given day, right? Because we are folks that are healing, and healing is not linear. Therefore, we're also non-linear. What does it look like to be able to have a space where we can show up as we are? In my personal work, I try to engage the stories and histories that are often not told, but make us the strong and beautiful people we have grown into. And so from that, I think a lot of that work also translates into my teaching practice. I want to make sure that my students know that I am leaning into their stories because I know that they carry their own expertise, and I want to nourish that, and I want them to see themselves reflected in the work that we're doing. So oftentimes I do show a lot of local artists of color to them because I work in a predominantly Black, Brown, and Asian community. And so I want students to see themselves reflected in the narratives that I'm sharing, in the same way in which the spaces that I'm creating or the spaces that I'm a part of, I really want us to be a reflection to and for each other. And that's sort of where my ideas of nourishment and care and love stem from. So again, I just want to say that I'm really grateful for the time. I know that there may be some questions, and I welcome those questions. You can put them in the chat. I don't know if we have time for Q&A, but I thought that for today, instead of talking about individual works that I've done or my installation work, my posters, that I would really take a longer look at the wholeness of what I've been doing, because a lot of that is informed by people that I've worked with. So again, I just want to say thank you so much for the time. And I'm really excited to continue building with folks. I would really appreciate if we could follow each other on Instagram, on social media. That's the best way to keep up to date with the work that I will be developing in the next coming seasons. And if you're an artist of color and you want to find a community where you can build, please get in touch so that we can find ways to continue building. that's it on my presentation. And I want to open it up to, or bring it back to Heaven Gallery and Alma.
Thank you, Sylvia. So I love you talking about what freedom can look like, because we're also thinking about, I think we're all thinking about that. And then thinking about what it looks like through intergenerational dialogue and being centered in joy. I think that is so important for us to remember that doing this work. Does anyone have any questions for our speakers? You can unmute yourself, or if you're a little shy, you can put it in the chat if anyone has any questions for any of our fabulous speakers today. Well, I would like to say a couple of things just in closing for this wonderful event. I'm so inspired. I feel like I just got recharged from all of you talking today. Nothing speaks to me more than women controlling our own destiny and clearing a path for one another. I feel like that is so incredible. You know, just thinking of my experience these last few years, I just want to remind everyone, don't let anyone tell you you can't do something. Don't let their inability to see the bigger picture hinder you. Always remember what you're here for and your purpose that you have been told. Since you were told it, you know it. You don't have to worry about what anyone is saying around you, because you know it without a shadow of a doubt. So remember to listen to that inner voice. One of my favorite International Women's Day speakers that we've had here in the past was Camila Rashid. Camila wrote this wonderful poem, and one of the lines in that poem that resonates with me, and I carry that line with me every single time it gets hard. She said, "You are the breaker of barriers." And I hear that. I'm like, you are the breaker of barriers. Remember that. May the Lord and Ganesh remove all obstacles out of our path. May we lead from joy and be magnets to all people, and so they can come to our aid and help us along our journeys of transformation, of liberation for our communities. That's my prayer for all of us. And I want to thank our speakers, Sylvia, Wisdom, Erica, Francine, for sharing their stories and their light with us today. Let's continue to talk, to collaborate, and create more visibility for one another. You know, let's continue to lift each other up. And if anyone's in Chicago, me and Francine are here at Heaven Gallery. We have a wonderful show of all women artists. We're having International Women's Day and International Women's Month here at Heaven Gallery, always and forever. So come visit us. We're here from 1 to 5. And we're giving out free tours, y'all. So thank you. Thank you. Oh, wait, there is a question. I'm sorry. I'm really bad at like micro or like managing two different things. Let's see, where is the question? What are you doing to take care of yourself and your creative community? Does anyone want to take that question?
I can start. I just recently, like last year, got into following the moon and doing like intentional moon work. And for me, it's like a spiritual resetting. So like full moon, new moon, right? Like I feel like it's New Year's every month almost. It really allows me to like center myself. I also, I work with people who fill my cup. Like I know that the people who I collaborate with are, they can see my vision. They also are very visionary, and we both ebb and flow and like fill each other's cup. Also, just like as far as home life goes, I have massaged a beneficial relationship with my child. So that is not just like take or like give. It's very much like we understand each other's flow. And as we continue to grow together, like, you know, we understand when each other needs time and space. And that's really important, I think, as a creator and also someone who has to like make sure, you know, a caretaker, make sure that that person is fulfilled. That's like conversations and just like building a relationship that is that's beneficial. That's beneficial, and that's also careful and you know, centered on like love and not like all the other stuff that you have to kind of dismiss. So yeah.
On a very practical level, I have been going to acupuncture now for some time, and I am such a believer in really tapping into the way that our body responds to trauma and the nervous system. And as a teacher, I feel like I also have to be pretty tapped into that as well. It's my responsibility to myself, first and foremost. So I have really come to appreciate finding a community of acupuncturists to offer their support. In addition to that, I honestly have to say that the work that I did with the Honeycomb Network last year, we hosted a conversation with the artists that are in display called A View from the Sun. And I was invited to help facilitate a conversation with the artist related to the book Bell Hooks, All About Love. And so finding ways to create the connections between the art and the book. And the question that came up was around flourishing and around self-love cannot flourish in isolation. So I really look to the opportunity to do that work with community because that does give me life. I gotta be real, being a teacher, the past few years has been really, really challenging and very difficult emotionally and mentally. And so finding those spaces, I think someone earlier said, like, find your people. I'm pretty sure that was wisdom. Finding your people and finding the spaces that encourage you to flourish, that are not extractive in nature, but rather nourishing, it has been really great. And obviously, William, I know you asked the question, but William and I are in the ACT Collective. William's actually the one who started the ACT Collective. And I've learned so much from Maestro William in terms of taking care of each other and going camping. I was once a diva, like through and through, and you know, they've really taught me what it means to be in community and to break away from the confines of our capitalist structure, even if for a few days, to just be together and camp together. So I would say those are some pretty practical, like hands-on, what have I done to take care, but they've really been meaningful to me and have really allowed me to continue doing the work that I do.
Thank you for that, Sylvia and Wisdom. Does anyone else have any questions before we close our 5th annual International Women's Day Symposium? Okay, well, I thank you all so much. I do believe in following the moon, and self-love can make us flourish. Thank you for sharing those last bits with us today. And definitely let's reach out to one another. Let's correlate our efforts so that we can build together. I mean, this is really what this symposium is about, is how our work is all integrated. It's all the same type of work that we're doing, and that if there's any way that we can lift each other up and find this network of women change makers that are going to lead us to this transformation that we are envisioning for our city, Let's all just reach out to each other and say, hey, I'm doing this, you know, how can we work together? And that's where we are going to really break down some barriers. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And next year, we promise it's going to be in person. We're going to get it catered. We're going to be together. So I promise you that. Thank you everyone for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Happy International Women's Month.